supports us being a green school. So win-win all around. So what do these graphs actually mean? And on that report card, what you will notice is that I've put blocks for each GAPS, PUMA and PIRA. What we're doing here is if we give them an individual result, they will panic. And the idea here is that because the grades sit within a boundary, a standard deviation or a standard variation really, as long as a child is within that boundary, we're pretty happy with what's going on. The top mark for the several tests that we know across the different terms varies. Hence, 1 mark on one test can have a standardised score difference of 2 or 3. However, on another test, it might have a standardised score difference of 4 or 5. So to try and mitigate those anomalies within our data, what we're doing is we're giving them a banded score so they can see term on term, as long as my child is sitting within this band, nothing major is going to cause us concern. We're all pretty happy. Also, even more importantly, we're looking at those grade boundaries or those grade descriptors of whether they're exceeding expectations, working at or working towards. Excuse me. And that's what's really, really important here, is what band are they really sitting in. I hope that's pretty clear and we understand kind of what's going on. Parents will be able to, term on term, be able to build up a picture of what's happening. We as staff have a continuous line graph where we can plot those, and we have a much quicker glimpse at that progress that a child is making. Any questions? No. Okay.
No.
If you're looking at these exceeding expectations and these working at, they are generated by the database. So you don't need to put in any of this data. I put in all the data, it's all uploaded, and then the program Complete Ed by magic starts to put everything into its grade boundaries, and so this is automatically generated. It should be a cut down in work for you guys and much clearer and sort of standardised as well. So what does this data mean? You don't need to know a huge amount here, but I think it's always beneficial just to see why we use the terminology that we do. What we're looking at is a standardised distribution curve here of a sample of children. Now, Rising Stars have done this test with 60,000 children, so we've got a huge sample. And what they've basically done is that the score that achieves, the most scores that are achieved will get a score of 100. So we're standardising it. 100 is here. And then the variance drops on each side. But this middle band is where most children will be performing. And then we start to go into below averages and well below averages or exceeding expectations. And when we start to look at what we are doing with our data and how we are supporting our children, it's this yellow band and this light blue band that we need to look at for support with Senko or looking at gifted and talented or our grammar school applicants. These individual scores are great and they're fine, but actually in the one random score of 125 or 130 isn't really going to give us the whole picture. It's looking at what the child is doing in the classroom. It's part of the picture. It's not the whole picture, but it's a really valuable piece of information that we have. Oops. So as I mentioned, when we start looking at these scores, what we want to do is we are looking at these bands. Scores of 115 and above, pretty much we can say are exceeding expectations. They're outside of this banding that we are looking at here of the normal distribution. Anything over 125 consistently achieved, and that consistently is really important, means that we can start to consider grammar schools or academic scholarships. What we are doing is we're going to talk to parents about potentially attending a grammar school or potentially attending a academic scholarship. But some parents may not be interested. They may not want the pressure for their children. But it's worth just starting those conversations, because the last thing we want is in year 5, just before they suddenly change their mind and we've done no prep to support them. A random 125 score isn't an indicator for a scholarship. It needs to be consistently over 2 or 3 terms at least, and we need to be looking at seeing progress through that as well. Anything below 85 is working towards, and this is where we start to think about some support for the child, particularly if it's in a particular area. It could be spellings, it could be multiplication, it could be number lines, whatever that happens to be. It may be that we need to do classroom interventions, but it's definitely a child that we need to flag up and we need to support. Anything below 80 really needs a discussion with the Senko and starts to be put on the watch list if they're not already on the watch list. And if they're already on the watch list, we need to start moving them to wave 1 or wave 2 to make sure that we are getting those interventions and those one-to-one supports in so the child doesn't fall behind. If you are seeing scores of 85 and below regularly, then we really need to be talking to Becky and making sure that she's got her eye on these children. Interventions can be classroom based, and there's obviously the documentation that we have that you need to fill out so that you can forward that on for Becky to take a look at. But she will be looking for at least 6 weeks worth of classroom interventions to see if what you're doing in the classroom is working. And we've obviously got our CPD programme as well that the children are involved in, so that can also be used to help target and add interventions in. I hope that's pretty clear. That's pretty straightforward. That's nothing we haven't already done before, but it's that information that we are sharing with parents and we're making much clearer for them. So I think I've talked quite a lot, and I don't always like talking a huge amount. So what I thought would be quite useful is I've got 2 case studies here, Child A and Child B, and you can see what's information there. I kind of want in the chat, just give me an idea of what you might say to the parents in a parents' evening following this kind of data. John, do you want to take Child A and Susan take Child B, and then we can maybe get some feedback on that. Take your time, we've got a couple of minutes, no major rush. Oh, sorry, John, I've just seen your message about 11 plus tutors, etc. Yes, absolutely, feel free. If the parents want to talk about 11 plus tutors, if they want to have a chat with those, I wouldn't recommend anyone because we don't actually have any on the books as such, and it's not our responsibility, but you can always say that lots and lots of parents do use them. But do reiterate that we have a really solid programme in school that has been very successful, so they're under no obligation to have a tutor. We do support the children in school. How are we doing with this Child A and Child B? Any luck?
Yeah, I'm just putting my answer down.
Oh, sorry.
No, no problem. I'll just need probably about another minute.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for answering the question, though. Thanks.
Yeah, I would agree. It's doing well, absolutely. Indicators are spelling, and sometimes it could just be the fact that he's concentrating so much on his writing that he hasn't had a chance to concentrate on his spelling. But a dyslexia screening is always worthwhile. And in this day and age, of course, their devices are going to be the godsend when it comes to spelling as well. So perfect. Just not sure if yours has come through, Susan, or not. Here it is. Parents should be aware, yeah, absolutely. If we are looking at a child that's minus 22 months with their reading, parents should already have an idea of what is going on. Nothing should be a particular surprise, but I would be definitely putting those parents in before the parents' evening, giving them a little bit of extra time. They may just need a little bit of hand holding, they may be concerned. They may be worried, understandably, but it's our job to reassure them. I have found, however, that if you go to parents with just the raw data, they panic. I would always suggest if there's data like this that is causing you concern, always have strategies and interventions ready to support the child. If parents know we're on board, we know what we're doing, we can reassure them, and then we've got a positive thing to talk about, and we can look at targets and action plans and really have something ready for that child in order to support them. And then at least they know that we aren't just letting that child slip through the cracks, and they are actually getting the support that they need. Thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate that. Next is the areas of strength and next steps. Again, this is all based on the data. So if you go to Mark, and if you need more support on how to access Mark, there is a PowerPoint presentation on SharePoint for you to use. But if you need more support, you'd prefer a one-to-one, just drop me a message and I can do another live link like this, or we can meet up and I can go through it with you. Your partner teacher may also be able to help you as well if you need some more support. Use the data in Mark. You'll get an individual breakdown of those scores. Select 2 or 3 areas and explain in one sentence. This is not a huge report. It's bullet points, please. Keep it simple, keep it sharp. And include maybe how you're going to stretch and challenge that child. We're recognising that they're particularly good in certain areas, but we're not going to let them rest on their laurels. We're going to let them still progress, and it's still important that they are pushing themselves. Next steps, you're looking at breakdown, and we're looking at those scores, and we're considering really how we are going to support that child to make sure that those areas, so it could be multiplication, it could be division, what is it we're going to do to intervene and help them in the areas that they're finding a little bit more difficult. Again, that CPD programme is really, really important. Susan, absolutely, we can use our knowledge of the child. It doesn't have to be only data driven. That next steps is really important. You know those children. That data is from one day. You know them. You spend all your time with them. So that's really important that we spend and use our knowledge when we're giving those next steps. So hopefully that's fairly straightforward. Please, it's not a huge amount of writing. It's bullet points. Keep it simple. 2 or 3 for each one. And then grades. I have shifted the grades over with a lot of discussion with lots of people and heads of department to attitude of learning. Effort always makes me feel slightly uncomfortable. So we've got, I'm not going to read those out to you. I think you are perfectly capable of reading those. But they are graded in 4 sections. Please, please, please don't be afraid to keep good as the sort of baseline. Excellent is really given for those children that are really pushing themselves and doing that over and above, really taking responsibility, being independent. Cause for concern. Don't be afraid to use it, but I will say that it should not come as a surprise to a parent if you are putting cause for concern. This is not to say that I'm not telling you to use it. If it needs to be used, absolutely. But that child should have had C1, C2 sanctions previously. They should have already, parents should have already had a conversation with you regarding their behaviour, regarding their ability to not engage in tasks. If you are giving cause for concern, please can you make sure that the parents are spoken to before the report goes home. This should not come as a surprise, mostly because it will be a really difficult conversation for you in parents' evening, and actually it's much easier just to catch up with them beforehand.